Hey there guys, Aldershot here, and today we're going to do an impression video on Dark Scavenger, developed by Sidra Games and on sale on Steam for the regular price of $5. So what is Dark Scavenger? Well, it's kind of an interesting premise. Basically, it's a point-and-click RPG, to put it, shortly, I guess. It definitely is sort of an interesting game for sure. So let's check it out. Let's check out what the features and options have to offer, which admittedly is not very much. There's no graphics options or anything like that. It is a 2D sprite game and is only $5, so I guess it's acceptable. Not really, but there you go. Not a lot of features, not a lot of options. So do keep that in mind. We are going to start a new game to kind of explore what this game has to offer. It will unfortunately overwrite our current game, which is a little bit unfortunate, but we'll do for the sake of this recording. So it doesn't even really have multiple save slots, which is again a bit unfortunate. So it's a little bit lacking on the feature department here. It is a point-and-click adventure, so it will require a lot of reading in order to get the most out of this game. A massive creature approaches you from the blackness. What do we have here? Oh, just another human. How disappointing. I was hoping for something a bit more filling. Who or what are you? Get away from me, you freaky space demon. So you do have multiple dialogue options in this game as well, and depending on what you choose, it will determine the outcome of the encounter. Kind of like Mass Effect or Dragon Age or any other kind of games that you might have played with multiple dialogue options, except I think in this game it has a little bit more impact than those BioWare games I mentioned. So we'll just click that. My name is Den. I am the apex of eternity and the beginning of something more elaborate. But let us conclude this verbal exchange. I must introduce you to a new breed of existence. You won't consume me so easily, or I can choose, eat me if you dare, monster. Let's choose that. Den cackles loudly. As you wish. Alright, so this is kind of like just a little tutorial, which we won't read because we can go through it ourselves. So this is basically how the combat's going to work. You're going to have three options here. You have your weapons, items, or allies. It is turn-based. Alright, and depending on what you use, it will use up one of the uses of the respective option. Okay, let's use our old sword for example, and that does a bit of damage, and it takes up a use. All right, and does each item and ally, each option basically will come with limited use, and you can refill it. We'll go more into that later on, of course. We'll use the damage booster to increase our damage and hit him again with our old sword. Now, this is kind of interesting. We can actually call on an ally to do combat with us. There we go. We chose a robot, and what he does, he stuns the mobs for us, which is kind of nice. And just like the items and weapons, your allies also only have limited use, so you do have to kind of manage how you use your different combat options and mechanics and all that stuff. So it's kind of interesting, and we'll go more into how you can refill these options down the road as we explore more of the game. This is really just the opening segment of the game to kind of introduce you to some of the mechanics that this game has to offer. So we're going to try and quickly get through this so we can explore more of the game. Alright. Don't be discouraged, human. I have defeated opponents far stronger than you. So it looks like he hit us quite a bit. We took some damage. Looks like we're dying. However, I see that you are not yet ready to evolve. It's a shame, as I could offer you something much greater than the reality you know. I shall leave you to rot in space. When your body has faded away, I will return to collect your eternal essence. Farewell. It feels like you've been asleep for years. Your eyelids weigh 1,000 pounds as your body struggles to stand. Slowly, you open your eyes. You wake up and find yourself in the spacecraft. Greet the strange creatures in front of you, or close your eyes again. Let's close our eyes again. This is scary. No, don't close your eyes, please. You've been asleep for days, and we wouldn't want to lose you again. You wearily look back up. Thank you, says the skeleton. My name is Kamaho. On behalf of all the Dark Scavengers, I welcome you to our ship. Welcome, new Dark Scavenger friend. My name is Felson, and the big one without a mouth is Gazin. Gazin stares at you. I don't think he can talk. I suppose you're wondering why you're here. Yes, that would be good to know. We found you floating through space. We weren't sure if you were going to wake up at all. That would have made us very sad. Aww. Aw, they care. We would love to let you rest, but unfortunately your life is still in peril. How so? Our ship is running out of fuel, and when that happens, we will all perish. Can we get more fuel? We can, but it won't be easy. Of course it won't be. Our ship detects a tremendous source of power emanating, there we go, from a fortress on the planet that we are currently orbiting. If you can get in there and grab it for us, we could use it as fuel and maybe get out of this mess. Sounds good, let's do it. Wonderful, we will be able to support you through crafting powerful equipment for you, but unfortunately all of us are terrible fighters, and basically just going to give an excuse to why they can't just join you in combat, why you have to do all the heavy lifting and all that stuff. Usual video game tropes, essentially. So at this point you can kind of click on different characters, select different dialogue options, learn more about your supporting crew, your supporting cast, and all that stuff. They are certainly very, very interesting. Alright, it's something I have to mention. Let's actually read the dialogue through at least one character. Hi friend, what's your deal? I'm an alien! From space! The outer part! Kamaho saved me with his spaceship. What a guy! Have you heard of a giant space monster named Den? You mean the huge space monster that eats standard space travelers? Yes, what do you know about him? Who? Den. Who's Den? You just described him. You big goof. I never said such things. So it's, you know, he's kind of an interesting character, and they all have their own personalities. Let's see what this guy is saying. Geyser stares at you. Where are you from? Geyser points towards the window. He can't talk, so I guess he's pointing. How did you get here? Geyser points towards Kamaho. Can you speak? Geyser points at his mouth, or his lack thereof. Alright, so there you go. Kind of interesting. So let's get out of here and kind of explore some of the actual mechanics when you actually, you know, start your adventure and all that stuff. So the first thing I want to address is the elephant in the room. I'm pretty sure most of you guys are already kind of thinking it. It's definitely going to be one of the first things that most people are going to take notice of, and that is its presentation, its graphics, and its overall visual style of the game. So, you know, I don't like being overly harsh on games, especially games that has potential and has some quality to it. And I feel that Dark Scavenger definitely falls into that category. But nonetheless, I have to be honest in my impressions. You know, I'm probably going to be describing stuff that you guys are probably already kind of thinking yourself. And that the illustration work is kind of mediocre, alright? It's not the best I've ever seen. Admittedly, it's not the worst I've ever seen. I've definitely seen way worse than this. But at the same time, you know, to put it kind of bluntly, a lot of the illustration work does feel kind of amateurish. Alright, to put it lightly. Now again, I don't want to sound too harsh. Alright, that's not really my MO in my impressions. I try to be fair and objective, but in order to do that, to kind of, you know, be honest to my viewers and all that stuff, I do have to mention these things. But besides the illustration work being kind of amateurish, there's also some technical issues with some of the sprites as well. You know, it's obvious that these guys cropped it from Photoshop or whatever they used, and that's fine. That's a pretty standard issue. But they didn't do that great of a job of cropping these sprites out, unfortunately. So the execution of the, you know, the sprites itself has some issues. Now, I'm not sure if you can see it because YouTube tended to destroy my video quality, but if you look closely enough, you can see some white outlines around the borders of the illustrations, especially around the smaller areas here. So whoever the digital artist was, or whoever was in charge of cropping out the sprites, they didn't really pay enough attention, unfortunately. It seems kind of like a rush job. You know, it's just, you know, it's a little bit is a little bit, I don't know, what's that word? It's unprofessional. Now, this is an indie game. Alright, it is really cheap. It's only $5. And I'm pretty sure the development team is really small for this game as well. So, you know, I gotta mention these things to be fair on the developers, but at the same time, from the consumer's perspective, these things are noticeable. These things will definitely kind of give off of a bad impression to any potential gamers who might be interested in this game. And even the UI design itself is pretty lackluster, is pretty amateurish, and it's you know, it's not ugly, but it could look a whole lot better. All right, so that's a little bit unfortunate. The presentation itself of this game is definitely going to be one of the weaker elements of Dark Scavenger for sure. Now, to contrast that point, some of the character design is actually, I kind of like it, to be honest. Like, you saw the crew from the beginning, and you're looking at these bandits now. They're pretty interesting looking creatures. Alright, so the overall design itself is pretty unique. It definitely has its own flavor, and I do actually like it. It's just too bad some of the technical execution of these illustrations wasn't done as well. Again, the white borders around the sprites is a little bit unacceptable. I don't understand why that's there. That could have been taken care of quite easily in Photoshop. I do have some Photoshop ability myself, and I know these things. So yeah, it's a little bit distracting, to say the least. So let's kind of see what this situation is presenting. Swiftly taking notice of you, the bandits place their heavy cargo on the ground, staring at you in disdain. Hey you, what do you think you're doing here? Don't you know who we are? Don't you know who I am? Should we know who you are? I'm a Dark Scavenger, a powerful being who could easily destroy you. Or I can say I'm your leader. I'm your leader, fool. Bow down before me. Let's say that. You don't look like our leader. I said bow down. Both bandits immediately bow down. We're sorry, Master Samokaj. Kind of a hard to pronounce name. We'll be on our way. The bandits dropped their large box on the ground before scampering into the distance. So that's kind of interesting. That you can actually kind of use diplomat, your diplomatic abilities to kind of talk your way out of certain encounters. And as you can see, the humor in this game is actually kind of interesting as well as pretty entertaining. It definitely has this unique sense of humor. The dialogue is very well written, to be honest. The characters are really well fleshed out, to be honest. My main game that unfortunately I had to overwrite in order to do this video, you know, I got to know some of my crew members. I got to know some of the enemy types and stuff like that, and they definitely, you know, show some interesting personalities. They definitely wrote in really entertaining dialogue and dialogue choices for you to choose from, actually. And as you just saw, it has an interesting sense of humor as well. So it's definitely going to be Dark Scavenger's strongest element, and that is its dialogue, its characters, and its humor. If you can get past the kind of poor presentation of the game, there's actually some quality to it as well. So let's actually kind of explore the mechanics a little bit. So now that we're done with that combat scene, you're kind of in this sort of map area here, and you just kind of click on different elements that will highlight as you mouse over it. It kind of reminds me of those kind of item searching games, I forget what they're called, or point and click adventures, with obviously with some RPG elements such as turn-based combat, as well as developing different items and weaponry to help you along your way, and you know, those kind of usual RPG tropes. So let's kind of explore a little bit, check out what these traps have to offer. Excuse me. There's an amputated bandit leg caught in the closed set of the steel jaws. I can either pull the bear trap jaws apart with my hands, wedge something metal in between the trap jaws and pry it open, or walk away. Well, we definitely want to explore. We're not going to walk away. So let's do the smart thing and use our trusty sword to pry it open. You force the bear trap open maybe this foot belongs to someone. So we found a foot. There we go. And we collect that item. We'll talk about how we use those items we collect just a little bit down the ways. So, you know, we're going to keep clicking on things until we exhaust the items. Not every item or not every object in the game that's clickable will garner an item or an encounter. Some of it is just for the sake of atmosphere. For example, when I click on this pool here, it just simply says the water doesn't look safe to drink, and that's about it. Alright, so, you know, we'll click on this tree, sure. Now, we're going to try and climb the tree. This is kind of a bad option for us. We kind of fell. Worn bark breaks beneath your fingertips, planting you back on the ground, so again, we fell. So this time we're going to try and throw a weapon or item to knock it down. We're going to throw our trusty sword, because we got a lot of uses. We got 11, so there you go. The item falls from the tree and lands on the outstretched arm. An old but durable net. So that's generally how this game's going to work. This is basically Dark Scavenger in a nutshell here. So you just kind of click on different elements of the map, and basically you kind of collect items or find encounters along the way. And you do have a item management here. You can click on your backpack and see what items you've kind of gathered throughout your travels so far. You can also click on a map to see where you've traveled. Obviously, we've only been to one scene. Or you can click on this health potion here to regenerate your HP if you do take some damage. So let's explore the next scene. So each time you exit a scene, you will be able to see the loot that you've collected in the previous scene. You select the loot, and you can either give it to Gazer, Falzen, or Kamaho. And each one of these dudes, they will produce something different. You give it to Kamaho, he'll use the old net, or whatever object you want to give him, to give you a weapon that is based on that object. Or you can give it to Falzen, and he'll give you an item based on that item that you collected. Or you can give it to Gazer, and he will summon in allies to your aid based on the items that you collected. So let's give the old net to Gazer, and we'll get the Jurbos the Trapper. So we can summon him in combat or in puzzle situations later on in the game. We can also, let's give the caramelized bone to Kamaho, and we got a bone Dart Uzi. That sounds kind of interesting. Alright, so now we're on to the next scene. Usually is a description of the scene. There is no voice acting, if you haven't noticed already. It is a lot of dialogues, a lot of reading. Alright, the bandit stands near the edge of the lake, firmly gripping a half-empty bottle of liquid in his hand. Taking swift notice of you, the bandit howls at you in a drunken stupor. What are you looking at? You want a piece of me? What are you drinking? This is crew brew. 1 pint of this could kill an Alka. I don't know what an Alka is. It doesn't do anything to Vindals, though. I'll tell you what. If you can finish a whole bottle of this, I'll let you live. Let's make it one of our allies drink it. It sounds sketchy. Let's make Kamaho drink it. Why not? And, you know, when you hover over any items or weapons or allies, it does give you a description in the bottom telling you what it does, the damage output, and all that sort of stuff. So let's give it to Kamaho. And that information will definitely help you decide on the appropriate allies, item, or weapon to use for any given situation or combat situation. Kamaho chugs it down. Kamaho seems to regret it immediately. That was pretty damn impressive. Here, take my other bottle if you get another craving for it. See ya. So that's kind of interesting. The bandit snorts and then takes another swig of his bottle before stumbling off into the forest. And we collected the item. So that's basically Dark Scavenger in a nutshell. You know, that's how the combat works. It's how you find objects and items and all that stuff. We're going to just skip through a whole bunch of this stuff so we can kind of explore a little bit more. We're just kind of clicking a bunch of objects to see if we haven't missed anything. Let's get that. Sure. Get some more objects. There we go. We're going to explore the top. Why not? Let's get a new item. And we'll get another ally. Fire Knight the Busty. Okay. Interesting enough. Sound whip cracks as a rope tightens around your shin. Suddenly you are suspended upside down from a tree. You have walked right into a bandit trap. Oh my. Distant footsteps and profane language informs you that a roving bandit patrol is on the way. Attempt to reach up and loosen the rope by hands. Use a sharp weapon. Destroy the rope. Let's do that. And we'll use our trusty sword. You cut yourself free from the rope. It sounds like the bandits are almost here. Ask an athletic ally to quickly jump. To climb the tree, set up a trap for the bandits. Wait for the bandits with your weapons ready. Hide nearby shrubbery. You know, let's try and hide and see what happens. The bandits search the area looking around, confused briefly before continuing their way. So we can actually get out of certain encounters if you choose the right kind of dialogue. I'm going to try and find another combat situation. That way we can kind of explore a little bit more of the combat mechanics. I'm going to use a large weapon and shield. Sure. Okay. Charge at the bandit. There you go. That'll put us into a combat situation. Alright, so this will give you a description of what's going on in the combat situation. Alright. And then we can choose, since it's our turn, we're going to heal up a little bit using our pots. Let's sick one of our allies at him. Fear Knight the Busty, sure, that'll stun both of them, which will help things out. And then we're going to use the Bone Dart Uzi because it sounds super fun. Hundreds of tiny white bone darts rapidly pierce Sniper Bandit A's body. Very good. Alright. So that's essentially how you're going to work the combat. You just select the appropriate items, allies, or weapons to use on the mobs. And again, each segment, you know, either weapons, items, or allies, will only have a limited amount of use. For example, if I use Fire Knight the Busty, I'll be out of the use of that ally, and I won't have that option anymore. So you do have to kind of manage that, however you want to do it. And again, you can get new item, weapons, and allies through collecting items throughout each map, and then changing them to the appropriate whatever you want. There we go. So there you go, guys. That's basically Dark Scavenger in a nutshell. The weakest elements of this game is definitely going to be its presentation. It's a little bit weak. Some of the illustrations, you know, seems a little bit amateurish, as mentioned before. And some of the technical aspects of the sprites are a little weak as well. So the cropping is kind of done poorly. The animation is pretty bare basic. They just kind of shake. They don't really move around or animate or anything like that. That's kind of forgivable in a game like this that's in this genre and at its price tag of $5. But the cropping issue is definitely something that's been kind of annoying me a little bit. And the illustration work could be a little bit better. So that's a little bit unfortunate. But this game definitely has some potential, though. Alright, don't discount it solely on its presentation. You know, I'll be the first to admit that it is a little bit off-putting at first, on first impression, on its presentation. But when you actually read the dialogue, when you get into the story, you know, the characters are actually really, really interesting. And the sense of humor that this game has to offer is actually really entertaining as well. And I do actually like some of the creature design of this game as well. They're actually pretty interesting little cretins, I guess you can say, which is actually kind of cool. I do like that. It's something like this dude here, kind of like a troll face kind of guy. But yeah, so, you know, pretty interesting character design, if not illustration work. Really strong dialogue. I really like this blah blah blah. English, please. I really like the story, and I really like the characters that's involved in the story as well. It's definitely going to be its strongest element. It's definitely going to be the sole element that will carry Dark Scavenger. Its writing is absolutely fantastic, I have to admit. Very, very entertaining. It's a little bit unfortunate that the presentation can't keep up with the writing quality. But this is a $5 game. Alright. They probably had a limited budget producing this game. It's probably a small team. I guess it's understandable, but these things need to be mentioned anyways. Alright, so there you go, guys. That's Dark Scavenger in a nutshell. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope you guys found this informative. If you did, please send me some love, like, share, fave, and comment. But most importantly, you know, subscribe, help me grow, and feed me my vegetables. Thanks for watching, guys. All the shout outs.